Hi, everyone. I'm Catherine. I'm here today with Deb, who is one of our clinical counselors at Thunder Bay Counseling. And we wanted to have a conversation today around wellness because we know with everything going on, taking care of yourself and making sure that you're keeping well is extremely important. And especially because this week is Mental Health Week. So there's so much conversation around wellness, especially on social media. I think there's so many things out there about self-care. So what really is that?
I took a look at Webster through Google, and self care is good health as an actively sought goal. So it's not something that just happens to you, it's something that you work to create. So self care is really actively seeking your own good health. That's what
Great.
wellness is.
So, in terms of that, are there specific actions people should be taking then to do self care and make sure that they're well?
Well, I think that's going to look a little bit different for everybody because there are so many different aspects to self care. There's we all have health and wellness in so many different areas of life. So we have mental health, emotional health, physical, spiritual, social health, financial health. There are so many different aspects. So some people might be really great at physical self-care, right? So they go for a run, they eat healthy, they get good sleep. But then when they have a hard day, they're really hard on themselves. They have some really negative self-talk. So that's really poor emotional self-care. So it's not like one person's really good at it overall and another person's really bad. We all have different areas that we have strengths in. So for somebody who needs more social health, self-care might look like getting on Zoom, starting a book club with some friends, doing some FaceTime with family. So it's going to look a little different for everybody.
Right. So, it's not always that. I think when we think of self care, we always think of the meditation, which maybe it is, or, having a bubble bath or things like that. But it's really dependent on each separate person.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. And I think the bubble bath one comes up a lot because often when we need self-care, the part that gets neglected is the emotional self-care. And that's one of the most important parts of emotional self-care is just being kind to yourself. When we make a mistake, it's just being as kind to ourselves as we would be to somebody else. I think that's where the bubble baths come in, right? Somebody's trying to be nice to themselves in the middle of a hard time. So I think that's where bubble baths get that rap, but it's not for everybody. Sometimes that would just be frustrating because you've got other things you want to focus on, right?
For sure. Yeah, that's great. And so, in terms of your experience and experience with clients, do you see that making sure that you are practicing self care does make a difference in their overall well being?
Absolutely, for sure. So if you think about the easiest category to look at this in is physical self-care. So if you lift weights every day, if you run every day, if you do stretches every day, um, in the moment, you might not feel like it's doing anything. In fact, it might be hard work and feel really bad and not feel really good. So you just want to give up because you're thinking this isn't helping anyway. But if you stick with it, over time, you're going to breathe better. You'll have more strength, more flexibility, just because you've kept that practice up every day. So you don't see the difference in the short run, you see the difference in the long run.
It's definitely a great way to look at it because I think a lot of times when we're looking at our emotional well being and things like that, it's hard to, you can't really see it. And it's really something that takes a while for you to be able to notice, but for sure.
And it
Great.
can be hard and discouraging. Sometimes it feels worse in the moment when you're doing the right thing, just like when you work out, you feel the burn, you've got the sore muscles, but you're doing something good in the long run.
For sure. So I know a lot of people say, oh, I'm so busy. There's too much going on. I have to make sure, whether they have kids or they have a very demanding job or they have other things on their plate. How do people take time out of their day if it's crazy and hectic to make sure that they are caring for themselves?
Right. And for some people, it might feel absolutely impossible. If you've got a lot of little kids and you can't even get to the bathroom in privacy, how do you take time for self care? Right. So there's kind of two different answers that I'm thinking about. One is put it in your calendar, make an appointment, right? And um, schedule time for that. Maybe the beginning of every week, look and see where you might have space for that. For some people, that might not even be possible. And in those cases, something that everybody has time to do is stop and be more present in that moment. Pay attention to what you're doing right now stop thinking about what's coming next and just take in what's happening right now. So just being present in the moment. We're all busy doing things all the time. Just being aware of what you're doing in that moment is self-care. So that's kind of present or mindfulness. And a great way to do that is you can download an app. There's one called Lotus Bud, for instance, that will set off in a little dong randomly throughout the day, just as a reminder to stop and take a breath and be present. And then you carry on. That literally takes no time. And you just continue doing what you're doing, and that helps with self-care.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for those tips, Deb. I know I really appreciate them. I'm sure everyone else will also really appreciate them. So thank you.
Thank you.